This video was sponsored by the World Caregiver Network. For more information, visit www.worldcaregivernetwork.com.
Hello everyone, this is Charles F. Gray, aka Atari Charles, and we are going to discuss my experience with Night of the Living Dead. Da-da-da-da-da, right? Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Night of the Living Dead came out in 1968. Oh, the birds are singing. I guess they like Night of the Living Dead too. Anyways, I got a birdhouse there that they're kind of like to go in there. Oh, and I can hear the baby chicks in there. So, but they're high enough; they're safe from the zombies. Zombies can't get them at that height. So, unless they actually knock down the fence. Okay. So anyways, so I had seen Dawn of the Dead first, of course. I told you guys that story in the last video. Kind of my first experience with it. And I guess this is my first experience with Night of the Living Dead. So I wasn't aware that there was it's not really a prequel, but I wasn't aware that there was a movie before Dawn of the Dead by the same director in the same world, and I wasn't aware of that. So anyways, it is basically maybe about a year after I've seen first saw Dawn of the Dead on VHS, on a rented VHS tape back in the day, it was probably really, I'm thinking like late 70s. Dawn of the Dead came out in 78, so perhaps 79, perhaps 1980, somewhere around there is when I saw it. Usually takes about a year for it to go on VHS. So anyways, I'm in my neighborhood. There was a store known as, fucking sun's right out, damn it, Kmart. Hold on, I'm just going to pause this. I'm going to move the camera angle because you guys are just going to see the whiteness of the zombies. Hold on. Anyways, moved locations. I don't know if it's the greatest. I just didn't want the sun shining in the lens there. Fuck off, you fucking... See, I'm talking about zombies, and then you got all these fucking vampiric wasps trying to fly around and sting. So, anyways, folks, so let's continue. Okay, so anyways, Dawn of the Dead, basically, it's the first horror movie I've seen, and I didn't realize there was another horror movie, and indeed there was, and that is basically, of course, Night of the Living Dead. I'm going to see if I can get a different angle. Sorry, folks. All right. Hey, I'll give you the view of the birdhouse. I don't know if I can. Yeah, it's hard to do, with the sun. It's kind of a little bit difficult. So anyways, basically, with Night of the Living Dead, basically, I went to, the neighborhood that I lived in, there was a local store called Kmart. Now in the States, there's some that are, I guess, still open, but basically Kmart closed down in probably the mid to late 90s, perhaps. And generally those locations were replaced by Walmart. But anyways, it was Kmart at the time. So, I went there and, I had a little bit of spending money. And I decided to basically look in the video section. And they had all these different movies, a bunch of different sci-fis. And I see this kind of plain case. It was a black case, where the black cardboard case where the movie slips into. And it said, Night of the Living Dead. Like, that's strange. And I'm thinking, could it be connected with the Dawn of the Dead kind of universe? And I didn't know, but I knew nothing about it. I looked on the back. It said, the amount of minutes. And it said black and white. And I'm like, black and white. But I'm like, well, maybe if it's an older movie, I guess it probably was filmed in black and white. So I ended up buying it. And I think it was $12 at the time. Now, normally movies, any of the main ones were like, they could be 20 plus, basically. They were really quite expensive. And this is probably early 1980s. So I buy this movie. Night of the Living Dead. And I I get it home and don't know too much about it. I'm theorizing that maybe it has something to do with the Dawn of the Dead universe, and I'm not sure. So, anyways, our basement was, before it was cemented, it was renovated. It was all nice. So basically, I decided to watch it because we had a VCR on the main floor and a VCR in the basement. So, anyways, I pop it in, and you hear the, dun 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 dun, and the car driving on that windy road. Pretty lonely movie, it seems like. And again, I was kind of not thrilled that it was in black and white, but hey, I think it was like, again, $12 or something like that. I'm just trying. Yeah, that was so long ago, but it was about $12, which is very cheap for a VHS back then. So, anyways, watch the movie in that, and they're driving up to the cemetery, and I already know, basically, from my experience watching other movies, especially Dawn of the Dead, and I'm thinking if this is in the same movie universe, you probably don't want to go to the cemetery, right? So they're driving, and they get to the cemetery, and they're kind of arguing. The two characters are arguing all the way there. Johnny and Barbara, that's right. And they're arguing and stuff, and I think she leaves the vehicle and he turns on the radio, and then you can tell that the news announcer is going to be, so we have a very important, and then he just turns it off. And if Johnny would have listened to that listened to that radio broadcast like 4 or 5 more seconds, he'd be like, Barbara, we got to get out of here, right? But he didn't. Obviously, there'd be no movie then. It'd be like them driving to the cemetery, driving back. So anyways, again, if you haven't seen Night of the Living Dead from 1968, it's the original one, not the remake from 1990. But again, the 1968 one, George Romero. So anyways, I'm watching this, and, the movie gets into, woman's attacked by a zombie. Her brother tries to save her. He gets killed by it. She runs to the farmhouse. She's in there. Blah, blah, blah. Ben comes. Blah, blah, blah. So on and so forth. They try to fortify it. There's people in the basement. They come upstairs. There's all sorts of things. So I'm just thinking, like, especially when they get to the news bar where they have the guy on TV. They find a TV in the basement, hook it up, and they're like, or no, was it? No, not in the basement. I think they found it on the upper floor. So they're watching this thing, and the news broadcaster is like, typical 1960s style. The dead are returning to Earth, or returning to life, blah, blah, blah. I don't know exactly what he said, but I'm like, yeah, this has to be part of the same universe. And again, I watched the movie throughout. Basically, it was black and white, and I thought it was really well done at the time. Again, you're talking to a dude that's basically, back then I was probably, I think I was about 12 at the time. I'm not sure, 11, 12, somewhere around there, basically. And I thought it was an awesome movie. I thought it was really well done, and but not as good as Dawn of the Dead. I thought Dawn of the Dead was the best, but I could tell that it had to have been part of the same cinematic universe. Basically, it had to be part of the same storyline. Basically, even though they're different characters. And later on, I did, this is before the internet, but I did, find out, okay, who directed this thing? Oh, it's the same director. Okay, it's a sequel, basically. It's basically Dawn of the Dead is a sequel to Night of the Living Dead, but just different characters in it. So, anyways, just very well done. I think the black and white really lent itself well, and I guess, like, through my reading now, I've learned, it was a while ago, but I found out that basically they could have went with color film, but it would have been 16 millimeter and probably very poor quality, not like Disney quality. It would have been like crap quality, or they could film with very high quality black and white film. And so that's what they did, basically. And I think it actually works really well for the film. It works well for the time that the film was made. The starkness of the black and white really works, basically contrasting like hope versus death, basically, by zombies. And I just thought, like, watching the movie even as a kid, basically, you could always see like, oh, the character shouldn't do this or shouldn't do that. But actually, if you were in that situation, who knows, you might react the same way. But anyways, yeah, it was a really, really neat movie. Well worth the $12. Years later, I ended up I think I sold it at a garage sale because I thought, oh, well, VHS is, passe. I kind of wish I would have kept it basically for Memento. And at some point, I would like to get another, a black and white, or I'd like to get another original Night of the Living Dead 1968 in black and white. And of course, the colorized versions as well, basically. What can I say? Great movie. Not as good as Dawn of the Dead, but definitely, if you watch them in sequence, and I've done so later in my life, where I've watched Night of the Living Dead in its entirety one night, and then the next night I've watched Dawn of the Dead, and then the next night I've watched Day of the Dead, and then the next night I've watched Land of the Dead. And it's very cool, we're seeing how the world fucking decays over time due to this zombie apocalypse or zombie epidemic. But yeah, I would highly recommend Night of the Living Dead 1968. I think it's a movie that everyone has heard of and everyone is aware of, and everyone has seen clips here and there. But no one's actually ever, well, I'm not going to say no one. I'm going to say, but have people sat through the entire movie? Hard to say, right? Probably a lot of most people, if not all, most people have probably seen clips of it and are aware of the movie and the premise, but not as many people have watched it from beginning to end. And I would recommend it. It's actually excellent acting, excellent storyline, and a good classic horror as well. And just as a side note, I was at my friend Sean's housewarming party, and it was funny. We were sitting in the backyard, and there was some sitting in the backyard, and down the street and across the street there was this lady, and she's cleaning out her garage, sweeping her garage basically, and she would have been like a silverback, I guess. But it was funny. One of the women there said, "Oh, there's a cougar," and then this comedic guy says, "Cougar? At our age, she would be Night of the Living Dead." And I just thought that was funny, that he kind of said that because I didn't know him, he didn't know me, and he was just a friend of Sean's, and yeah, it was pretty funny how that's no cougar. She's Night of the Living Dead, to imply that she was so old that she might have as well been a zombie in Night of the Living Dead. She was basically, an animated corpse. Just funny. But anyways, this is Charles F. Gray, Atari Charles, over and out. Please like, please share, please subscribe. If you want to support the channel, click the link in the video description below. And what else can I say? And if you want to you want me to do a topic of your choice, the PayPal link is in the video description below, as well as if you want to run a commercial on one or more of my videos, that price is there as well per video that you run the commercial on. So anyways, it's Charles F. Gray, Atari Charles, over and out. Watch Night of the Living Dead first. If you haven't seen any of these movies, Night of the Living Dead in black and white first from 1968, not the remake from 1990, 1968 version. Then watch Dawn of the Dead from 1978. Then watch Day of the Dead, which I think is from 1985, I'm not sure. And then Land of the Dead, which is maybe 2002, perhaps, somewhere around there, or 2004, maybe. But anyways, check those movies out. They're awesome watching them back to back. Okay, take care. See you later, and cheers. See ya.
This video was sponsored by the World Caregiver Network. For more information, visit www.worldcaregivernetwork.com.
Hello everyone, this is Charles F. Gray, Atari Charles. Take two. The Thing,